Hello and welcome back to the StoreHero podcast. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Thomas. Hope to have you in Miami here soon and share the sunshine with you.
We could badly do with it, I can assure you. I suppose, look, we always kick things off here by just getting a quick intro from our guests. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Jonathan Snow. Been in e-commerce for over a decade now. Kind of been involved in e-commerce in every element possible. Got started on the affiliate and influencer side. Built an affiliate marketing platform, leveraging Instagram influencers. Ended up working with pretty much every Instagram influencer you could think of, and started running offers through their pages. Drove 9 figures in revenue through our affiliate platform we built. And from there, decided to start launching our own e-commerce brands, leveraging that network we had built, and got into the brand side and started incubating and launching a new brand every quarter. Built out an infrastructure in-house to do everything internally with our own team. So all the paid social, paid search, email marketing, fulfillment, design and dev, everything was done in-house. And at our peak, we had 9 brands. All of them were bootstrapped, drove each of them to 7 or 8 figures in annual revenue within the first year of launching, leveraging 99% of the same strategies. And over the years, developed a reputation. Brands started approaching us, asking if we could run their marketing. And that's how the agency was born. And we switched over to the agency side after we sold our brands. And we've been a full service digital marketing agency for close to 5 years now. We were actually acquired a year ago by Avenue Z. And so I'm at the Avenue Z level now. And so the Snow Agency is the agency that I founded. And we partnered up with Avenue Z and merged with 2 other agencies as well in the SEO space and PR.
Nice. A lot to dig into there. I'm sure those strategies are like gold dust, by the way, after pitching them there. A brand a quarter is pretty ridiculous. I'd love to dig into that a little bit more. But in terms of the influencers, you kind of mentioned we've worked with every influencer you could think of. We can name drop here. I'd love to hear a couple.
Yeah, Cardi B. I was texting Cardi B like before she became Cardi B, back before she was famous for what she's famous for now, if you know what I mean. Cardi B, the Kardashians, I mean, Black China, Amber Rose, like these are
Wow.
all the people that were in our affiliate network and running our offers. And this is back in like 2013, 2014, when Instagram influencers like started rising, but it wasn't fully mainstream yet with brands like it is today. So it was a huge opportunity and we capitalized it in that small window.
And how did you get involved in that? Because I think I read somewhere before you're a doctor. You're a dentist, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a dentist. So basically, I was a dentist in the Air Force, stationed in the middle of nowhere in Louisiana. And my brother, who's my partner for the past 10 plus years, he was building these large Instagram pages. So at Rap on Instagram is his. And he was building, many other social media properties like that with millions of followers. And he realized that there are a ton of other pages with huge followings, influencers, other meme pages, athletes, influencers, whatever it may be. And none of them were monetizing their following. And so he had the idea to build an affiliate marketing platform that became almost like a self-service platform where every influencer could go in, sign up as an affiliate, get their own custom UTM links for different offers that we were running. And he needed help to bring that idea to fruition. And he knew I had all this free time on my hands in the middle of nowhere. Air Force days would start at 7 a.m., end at 3 p.m. So I would get home in the middle of nowhere. This is before I was married and had a whole day ahead of me with nothing to do. Just curiosity led to the opportunity, and then it became, went from like a hobby to truly a career. And then I was juggling dentistry with digital marketing and e-commerce for close to 7 years, and then COVID hit. That's when I stepped away. I was actually under contract to buy an orthodontic practice in New York City, and during due diligence, COVID hit. Everything shut down. You literally could not treat patients, especially elective treatment like putting on braces to straighten someone's teeth. Couldn't do that for months in New York City. During that time, stepped away obviously from dentistry. I couldn't practice and focused on building out the agency, and things opened up a few months later and things got too big too fast for me to go and try to operate a second career simultaneously again.
Wow, the butterfly effect in true motion.
Yep. And then I moved down to Miami and the rest is history. Haven't treated patients since.
Miami's in Louisiana, I presume, are quite similar in terms of nightlife.
That was a good one. That was the best joke I've heard in a while. Yeah, no, like in Shreveport, Louisiana, the only thing to do there is pretty much go to the casino or sit outside by your pool. So
You've been in ecom quite a while then. I suppose, pre-COVID and post-COVID is almost like just two different worlds, two different landscapes. Everything has changed with e-commerce specifically. I suppose looking back from when you would have started the affiliate agency versus where you are today, what are some of the key changes you've seen in how to run a successful e-commerce brand?
Changes every single year. Back when we were running Instagram influencer affiliate, the algorithm back 10 years ago was such that if you had an organic following of, let's say, 10 million followers, every single post that you would make, even if it was an ad, it would get nearly 100% reach. Like pretty much you were showing up on all your followers' timelines and you'd have predictable reach. Instagram figured that out a couple of years later and realized they weren't getting a cut of any of these influencer deals. People were going and buying directly on their pages. And so what did they do? They created tech to scan posts if they saw that it was an ad or a sponsored type post. And they had any type of CTA triggers like click the link in my bio to buy it, whatever. Then they would just nuke the reach on those organic posts. And that forced everyone that was capitalizing on influencer 10 years ago to go through the ad platform and figure out how to scale on paid media. That's the main way that influencer changed. And it's funny how it's come full circle now. And because of TikTok Shop and social commerce and having extended reach, viral extended reach, regardless of how many followers you have, it's like TikTok is taking the opposite approach that Instagram took 10 years ago. But Instagram seems to be pivoting now with like unlimited reach on Reels. So they're just following TikTok again. Then during that time, obviously, things went from just more on the macro level. Things went from grow. And then like COVID times hit and like stimulus and funds were flowing everywhere. And people didn't care about profit and they knew that they could raise another round at these ridiculous valuations and kind of didn't care about like what the risk would be if we went from a zero interest rate environment and money flowing everywhere and consumers being stronger and confident than ever to what would happen if like interest rates did rise and funds dried up like it did. And then what happens when you layer that on top of iOS 14 and privacy issues coming to the fold and kind of destroying performance for a while or, creating all these other headaches that you had to deal with simultaneously with your business. No one was really prepared for it. But I was very fortunate to be on the brand side and kind of have our hands in the weeds for so many years, gambling with our own money for 5+ years with our own brands, so that when clients face any type of issue, whether it be fulfillment related, financing related, ad related, something on the Shopify tech stack, because our team was groomed on the brand side and we were pulling all the strings on our own brands, like it's very easy for us to step in, identify any type of issue with a brand's business and provide any type of solution. So we've been really fortunate to have that experience and kind of navigate these issues with our brands over the years.
It's nice. I mean, you've touched on a wide range of kind of skill sets, I suppose, everything from marketing to financing to products. Have you specific kind of domain expertise, or what's your bag, or what's your wheelhouse that you really, really enjoy the most? Obviously, e-commerce is so much to it. People don't realize it when they set up their first store. There's so many different departments that you need to be. Is there any specific one you prefer more so than others?
Yeah, I would say it's not really a department. I would say it's more of a philosophy, and that's performance, because everything is integrated at the end of the day. And if the e-commerce brand is not performing, if their revenue's not growing, if their profit's not growing or at least in the green, then the writing is on the wall. They're not going to survive. They're going to have to shut down. They're not going to, have bootstrapped funds or another financing round if they're just burning money. So we step in and we're able to identify how do we improve performance based on the historical data we have on this brand. Like where is the leakage? Where are we blowing the most money? Where can costs be saved? So it's kind of like layering in finance with marketing and integrating all the different disciplines like paid social, paid search, email, SMS, influencer, affiliate. How do we interconnect all the dots to, induce the best performance possible? So
I think when we touch on performance, it can mean a lot of different things. Obviously, in this context, we're talking about performance marketing. In terms of a lot of brands, I think when they're looking at the performance, they can often just look at top line revenue, and as long as top line revenue is going north, it's all rosy in the garden. That's not always the case. Obviously, setting these kind of overarching revenue metrics when you're not setting them in tandem with profitability metrics can often lead to misaligned incentives for the e-com manager, the agency, and so on and so forth. Do you think there's been a bit of a shift in the last couple of years from brands, just going grow, going for that top line? And now all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, probably post iOS 14 in the last 2 or 3 years, macro environments got a little bit tougher. Ads have obviously got more expensive. not just setting those overarching top line metrics, but needing to kind of set them in tandem with profitability metrics as well.
100%. Yeah. I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I don't think anyone was using the word contribution margin. At least it wasn't popular to talk about. Now it's the North Star for everyone: contribution margin, which is essentially just variable profit after all your variable fees associated with an order. And if you don't have that, then your paid media, there's no point. Like, if you can't acquire customers with contribution positive, like, you're just never gonna, at the end of the day, like, your contribution margin needs to be higher than fixed expenses. So the name of the game, it's really not just ad efficiency and growth, but it's also looking at your fixed expenses too. The worst thing I see is brands coming in saying they need, these crazy metrics and level of scale, and then we find out it's not possible, and B, why do you need that? And it's because, like, well, they have a ton of overhead. They have a huge office, or they have, a huge payroll, which makes no sense given the stage of the brand. And good luck trying to, if you're starting off a brand, or you're still in, the first 8 figures in revenue, I would say, and you're trying to build a whole team in-house, it's simply not going to work. You're not going to be able to scale that quickly and profitably to overcome those expenses.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree anymore. Yeah. Has it changed the role of a paid media buyer in the last 4 years? Like, it's not a complete different domain expertise they need to be aware of, but it's definitely shifted away from just being experts in the Meta ad platform or in your Google ad platform. Now, all of a sudden, you kind of need to have, you definitely don't need to become a CPA or an accountant, but you do have to have some level of financial understanding, which kind of sounds mad, really, but you do need to understand the overarching finances and financial goals of the business to run an ad account correctly for a business, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we were very fortunate. Like I said, we were on the brand side and we were gambling with our own dollars, never raised a dollar ever for any of our brands, and we were spending quite a lot. And so we felt every dollar a mistake. So our team was just groomed to always focus on profitability. We didn't raise money and had to, answer to investors on growth and this and that. And so everything we did was just for cash flow and profit. So at the end of the day, like, our media buying team always looked at that and looked at, like, different levels of scale with different internal costs and how much, where we need to be essentially for a brand to even afford our services as, like, that fixed expense. So, like, we were always, like, grooming our media buyers to think like that. And it wasn't just, media buyers needing to understand finance now. It's like they also need to just understand everything outside of the ad platform that impacts performance within the ad account. Things like conversion rate, things like merchandising and average order values, like everything within the funnel that they're driving traffic to, like, they need to be responsible for. Creative. If they don't understand how all these things interplay, I don't know how they're going to buy media other than just looking at numbers and being a day trader in the ad platform. But that's only going to take you so far.
100%. It's kind of why I wanted to chat to you today, because I mean, I followed you on LinkedIn and Twitter for some time, and you're always beating this profitability drum. Your content is excellent. I've learned a lot from it over the last couple of years. That's why I probably got a good understanding that any of the paid media buyers working at your agency would be kind of beating this drum as well. I don't think that's mainstream enough, though, for other agencies. And to be honest, like, we're dealing with loads of different brands at StoreHero all over the world, and the concept of contribution margin is still so new. And I mean, it's mind blowing for me when there's attribution issues all over the place that people don't basically understand the difference, or getting the kind of the balance between volume of spend and efficiency, and really just understanding, as I dial up or down that marketing budget, stop focusing on top line all of the time. Are you more or less profitable as you dial up that marketing spend? It's quite a basic concept to kind of grasp, but it's still very misunderstood, and it's definitely not as mainstream as I think it probably should be.
Exactly. Yeah. No, brands and marketers, it's still shocking to me that they're not aware of this being a concept even, and how to optimize for it, essentially. I mean, we make even, like, different gradients and matrices on when we're trying to, a lot of our job now as an agency is educating the brand. So a lot of these brand owners are either, they're either great product people, they're either an influencer or a creator, or they're a great marketer, but not many of these people understand the finance component. So it's almost like a lot of our job now to get aligned on goals and targets is educating them. And so, like, we have these matrices that we put together on, like, here's, if you spent this much at this return on ad spend, here's how much contribution margin you would have at the end, right? Like, would you rather have, 50,000 spend at a 2x return on ad spend, or 10,000 spend on an 8x, right? Like, so we go through those simple things. Like, we actually have some clients that are on the opposite end of the spectrum. Some want us to scale and just focus on top line revenue. They don't care about performance. And then others want us to only maintain a ridiculous return on ad spend and never be able to scale. But then they don't realize that, spending $2,000 at an 8X will not get them enough revenue to even pay for our retainer. So it's like a futile effort. Like, what are we doing here? And so like trying to meet everyone in the middle and educate them, it's really been a challenge that we're still having today, to be quite honest.
I think I saw a funny tweet during the week. It was someone said that, running an ad account and solely looking at ROAS is like being a pilot and only caring about the altitude. It's like you're missing so much of what's actually going on here. But yeah, I mean, I completely get it. The education piece is interesting. Like, even from speaking to a lot of people in the game in the last year and a half, they can kind of see it as outside of their wheelhouse and not something I want to get involved in, because it can seem scary to even, enter that way of working and trying to look at margins and profitability and so everything else. But I think as agencies are really trying to distinguish themselves, and as people are trying to distinguish themselves in the space, it's such an easy way to stand out because it's not as prominent with everyone. It's what brand owners want to talk about. They want to understand profitability. They can get lost in the conversations around, attribution and really understanding in-platform ROAS and blah, blah, blah. They want to understand, can their agency make them as much profit as possible? And so I just think it's such a competitive advantage for anyone to really upskill themselves.
100%. And like you just touched on attribution versus like business level performance, which is another challenge. Some clients, I mean, we had a client recently, ad platform, and like we're driving like 90% of our spend through Meta for this brand. Ad platform CPA has risen a little bit, but blended CPA at the store level is literally identical. And they're panicking because, Facebook is saying that, CAC is up 10%, 20%. But their store CAC is literally identical. So it's like, do we have an attribution issue or an actual performance issue that we need to make a decision on? Are we going to pull back budgets or pivot in strategy and make a knee-jerk reaction because Facebook or Northbeam or Triple Whale is telling us that CAC rose 10%? Obviously, what we're doing is working if CAC is the same at the store levels, especially when we're driving 90% through this channel. That's kind of like another educational component to it as well.
Yeah, everything was just simpler pre iOS 14, wasn't
it? Yeah, exactly.
And just on that topic, how has Meta performance been? Obviously, like, you guys might even just give some context to the size of brands that you guys tend to work with, because you deal with some really, really big clients. How has Meta performance been year to date? I know there's been some kind of bumps maybe around March, that kind of thing. Be interesting just to get your thoughts on that.
Year over year, it's been pretty similar, I would say. Past 2 years, I mean, iOS 14 is not really a concern anymore. We use like third-party conversion API solutions, which restore that data feedback loop that was broken for a couple of years post-iOS. I would say it's flat. I think right now it's directly tied to just consumer strength. I think Meta as a platform is as strong as ever. But if consumers are not spending more and inflation is a concern and consumer confidence is low, and what are we doing with Facebook ads? We're trying to make people impulse purchase. Facebook is like top of funnel and bottom of funnel all in one, right? It's like we're driving awareness and conversion. And if people aren't, shopping on their couch with a ton of extra money and confidence in their financial future, then how are we going to convert them at the same rate we were converting them during zero interest rate phenomenon? So I think once the consumer does get stronger, I think everything is tied to the Fed. As soon as the Federal Reserve cuts rates, which we had a great inflation reading yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was. As soon as they start cutting rates, consumers will start getting more confident. Their cost of living is just going to go down and they're going to have more disposable income to spend. And in turn, our performance of our ads should go up. It's the most important driver, literally, in the market. So
it's such so many businesses globally are now advertising on Meta platforms, and they have so many people using the platform on a daily basis that, if the performance in platform isn't fantastic, it mightn't even be the platform anymore. As you're kind of to your point, it's just generally economy sentiment, really. And it is such a broad data set there of both consumers and businesses that is probably almost the best indicator of economic prosperity at any given time.
And what I love when I hear this is like, oh, Meta doesn't work anymore like it used to. There is so much going on outside of Meta's ad account, like I said, like macro, that impacts everything within it. It's like the same thing as being a tunnel vision media buyer on Meta. It's like if the media buying is not working, performance is shit, everyone's gonna be like, oh, that media buyer sucks, right? Like he's a media buyer, but like, did that media buyer do anything on the creative element? Did they look at conversion rate? Did they look at all these other things? Like, there's so much going on outside of just like Meta's broken. It's like the consumer, you make the consumer stronger, everything's going to start magically working, and then people are going to be like, Meta works again. No, it's like there's so much going on that's almost out of our control. Creative testing is like not as powerful as consumer strength. Yes, creative testing is extremely important, but like there's only so much that you can control, you know? So that's like the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, so much has changed in the last couple of years. It's such a different macro environment in general. I suppose with that in mind, if you were to design the perfect e-commerce business and start it tomorrow, like what are the three things that you would look for? Like, is there three main things you're saying, look, I'm not starting a business unless I had X, Y, and Z, and what would they look like?
Yeah, 100%. It's funny. I got this question recently and I thought about it even more since I'm pretty certain on these. Margin. If you don't have the margin, you're not going to work on e-commerce because you need room to acquire a customer. So it
What,
needs to
what,
have
what margin would you like? What gross margin?
75% minimum.
75.
Yeah, that's what I like. Some brands are at 90% gross margin, and those are really easy to scale. So 75 is like what I would minimum shoot for. Outside of that, consumable product, meaning that people need to take this or eat it or whatever every day, ideally, so that like a monthly subscription makes sense. Now, there's some consumable products that I see all the time that try to force subscriptions down like customers' throats, but it's not clear how long one bottle or one serving or whatever it is lasts. So it's like trying to shove monthly subscriptions down everyone's throats, but this bottle of shampoo might last 2.5 months, might last 1.5 months, but like the brand doesn't even know how long it lasts. Like, how are you going to sell a subscription if your customers don't even know how long it's going to last, right? So consumable packaging within a month, I would say, is ideal for subscriptions. And then lastly, it has to be functional, meaning like problem solution oriented. It has to do something and it has to be differentiated. So like it's very easy to sell something on social when you have a consumer pain point and then your product is a solution to that pain point. So I would want to make sure that that is like I would say a target demographic that's big enough that has that pain point, and B, like your product having like a clear effect on and solution for that pain point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just on that, I suppose. So you've got your 3 points. You've got your margin, your problem solution, and you've got your repeat purchase rate
Yep.
kind of locked in. Are you still mainly looking at Meta and Google, or what's your kind of take on where you at with TikTok Shop?
Yeah, Meta, Google, and TikTok are the main three drivers of paid right now. TikTok Shop, social commerce in general, is a huge opportunity that I've been really focusing on over the past 6 months. The reason why TikTok Shop is so special right now is because it solves the biggest pain point for brands, which is rising customer acquisition costs, right? So like everyone just blows a ton of money on ad spend, especially early on in the brand's days, on creative testing, trying to figure out what works, and they're just burning through cash while they're testing until they find something that scales profitably. TikTok Shop, all that goes out the window. You have three components to TikTok Shop. You have the brand's organic page, you have affiliates and influencer pages, and then you have the paid media component. You don't even need to be running TikTok paid media right now to find success. All you need to do is be posting on your brand's page, tag the products in it, and you have a good chance of going viral, if you just keep doing that consistently. But then the affiliate component is where everything is so exciting. And this reminds me of my days 10 years ago when I first got started in Instagram affiliate, right? And so like I really read this resonates with me. I see the opportunity here, and I have brands that are doing 500,000 plus in monthly revenue with affiliates only without ad spend. And so when you get a few affiliates that start working, now you have a proven thing that is working organically that you can then juice with paid media spend. So that's where you start amplifying. And like this is what we used to do with our own brands back in the day when I was on the brand side. We were just finding influencer content that scaled organically, and then we were launching it in the ad platform on Facebook and Instagram. And so like we would always launch the things that did well organically on those influencer pages. The same model, and that's how we were able to scale profitably with our own brands many years ago when we were bootstrapped. It's like creating this testing ground without having to blow media dollars. And when you are blowing media dollars, it's predictably going to work.
Okay, interesting. So for some of your larger accounts that are advertising on the three platforms, generally averages are all we're going to get here, but what's the percentage split in terms of revenue like being spent on different platforms? And if you have any comparable metrics in terms of CAC, just to your point there, like TikTok Shop seems to be so appealing because of the cost to acquire customers is so much lower. How, if you have any numbers, ballparks on how much lower, just be interested to hear your thoughts, just given the kind of stores that you're dealing with.
Yep. So yeah, first we'll talk about like paid. So the budget split between like Facebook, TikTok, Google on the paid component right now is 75-ish% on Facebook. Yeah, obviously Meta as a whole, around I would say 15 to 20 on Google, and then 5 to 10% on TikTok. So that's the paid budget split. CAC, I mean, it's hard to even compare them. I mean, Google's always going to be the lowest CAC, but Facebook assists that. Without Facebook awareness, you're not going to be able to scale Google. So like Meta overall is the biggest driver, and that's why most of our budget is there. Google's going to have your best CAC. TikTok is just another great awareness channel, and honestly, also has downstream effects on Google and direct traffic as well. And then when you get to the TikTok Shop affiliate component, CAC there is whatever you want it to be. So you set the commission rates. You don't have to pay these affiliates up front like typically you would have to do with normal influencers. If you give them 20% commission, your cost to acquire the customer is a fifth of what your actual retail price is of the product, right? So if you have a $100 product, you're giving 20% commission. That's a 5x return on your investment, and CAC is only 20. So you'll take that all day, right? So and that's why it's so easy to scale affiliate too. If you're offering a fixed commission rate, you'll scale that to the moon, right? If you're guaranteeing yourself a 4 or 5x with 20 to 25% commission, you'll take as many affiliates in the world that'll push your offer. That's why
It's a
it's
much better model than just paying Instagram influencers. You have to paid per performance almost with TikTok Shop. So the influencers are very much incentivized to make the creative work for the brand
exactly.
obviously that they're working with. So I think it's a much better model for both the creator and the business on behalf as well. Interesting. What are some of the biggest challenges you've seen with brands, probably even year to date or in the last 12 months?
Biggest challenge is still, I would say, like customer acquisition costs on paid media,
Yeah.
especially for the smaller brands, like earlier in their life cycle. So like I would say like the main thing I've noticed over the past couple of years is like the larger brands have zero issues. If anything, they're getting stronger. The smaller brands are the ones that are tougher to hit a certain level of profitable scale. And they have tighter budgets too, which also makes it harder. And so we're pivoting a lot of these brands to trying to go to market on TikTok Shop affiliate first so that they create awareness, they're acquiring customers profitably, and they're getting creative that's needed to ultimately scale within Facebook and TikTok and YouTube Shorts, wherever they want to put the content. And so I think focusing those investment dollars more upper funnel that has more leverage is what we've been kind of pivoting a lot of these smaller brands to.
Nice. I think even in the last couple of years when, ROAS and CAC was much cheaper on Meta, it kind of forced a lot of lazy habits, I think, with a lot of people as well. And I think they now have to kind of reorientate to become proper marketers again who operate these platforms. For years, creative, not any creative, but most creatives, as long as you had a decent product and some brand recognition, would fire on Meta for a long time. And obviously that's just not the case anymore. So it's great.
Exactly. And so many 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2021, whatever, 2020, even before that, anything would essentially work and scale. And like these marketers have these inflated egos, and they actually didn't know jack shit about marketing. And they just thought they were all hot shit. Now what happens, a couple of years later when everything has changed, it's harder to acquire customers, more expensive to acquire customers. And you throw in all these other elements that they need to master, creative landing page, conversion API and analytics, like just thinking about all of that, all the frauds and pretenders are kind of probably onto crypto and pumping GameStop now and onto the next quick buck because they realize they don't have the chops or patience or intellect to actually make it work here.
100%. Good to see Roaring Kitty back in action this week as well.
Yeah, I warned people in my newsletter. I literally launched my newsletter Tuesday afternoon when it was like up 100% 2 days in a row. And I'm like, be careful. Do not buy this. You're going to be left holding the bag. And lo and behold, I hope people read that newsletter and took my advice.
Oh, it's interesting. I think he's had 500,000 new Twitter followers this week.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
absolutely insane.
Yeah. Just on that, I suppose, I mean, as I kind of mentioned earlier on, I've been following your own stuff online on Twitter and LinkedIn for quite some time. Really good content. Recommend everyone give you a follow. How long have you been doing that? How have you kind of found it? Has it been a good acquisition tool for you, for the agencies over the years? Curious just to get your thoughts. Like, I know the work that goes into it. I try and create some of it myself. It looks easy. It's nice and easy to read. It's great content. As a creator of that content, it's obviously well put together. It takes time. Just curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah. I've started focusing on content, just like Twitter, LinkedIn, about a year and a half ago. It's really hard to start building a follower base, I would say, up until your first couple thousand followers, but then it starts compounding from there. And it's all about consistency. So it's like you have to tweet, post on LinkedIn, if not daily, almost every single day. And it has to be valuable content. You can't just regurgitate news, and you can't regurgitate what other people are already saying. You need to have your own angle and approach, and honestly, no shame to put your honest opinion out there, whether or not everyone's going to like it or not. And just be genuine online. I launched my newsletter a few months ago. I think it was like February. And that's been really great as well. Just trying to grow that organically through my Twitter and LinkedIn. And honestly, making all this content forces me to stop and think and hold myself accountable to like a posting frequency. And honestly, like by forcing myself to write about certain topics, I'm learning by just formulating my thoughts in an organized manner. And honestly, a lot of the content that I put out there is stuff I would tell my team internally in Slack anyways. So like my biggest hack for being able to generate more content and good content is anytime I would find myself like kind of excited about an insight I uncovered when I was going through an ad account or like our analytics platform, and I thought it was like a good point, and I would share that internally. I figured that was also that type of information would make for a great tweet.
Yeah.
So rather than typing it and sending it off in Slack where 50 people would read it, why not post it on Twitter or LinkedIn where thousands of people would read it, and then send a link to that content to my team to read. So that's been a little like leverage hack that I've used, is that like I found myself just constantly dropping insights into Slack channels and figured out how to make that content more valuable by posting it on social first.
Nice. That makes a ton of sense. Okay, interesting. If people are looking to get in contact with you, John, where can they get in contact? Where can they find you?
Yeah, the easiest place is really just LinkedIn and Twitter. I don't even know what my handles are, honestly, but just Jonathan Snow, type that in and you'll eventually find me. And then subscribe to my newsletter. Try to put out weekly insights. Well, I definitely do weekly insights. Try to make it as valuable as possible. So subscribe to my newsletter. You'll kind of get insights on D2C, finance, sometimes random tips in dentistry. Try to give my opinion there whenever relevant, and anything else that's going on in the digital markets today. So yeah, I hope to connect with you all on social and see you guys soon.
Perfect. We'll put some links in the show notes here as well. But listen, Jonathan, really nice to chat to you today, and we'll catch up again very soon.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Cheers.